Good afternoon, everybody. It is June 23rd, Wednesday at 3 o'clock p.m., which means it's time for Women in Business. Now, we're doing something a little different today since I don't have a guest, so I'm going to talk about a subject that came up in the Women in Garment Decoration group. And if you are not a member, I'm going to show you the link because I highly recommend becoming a member if you're not one already. It's a great group of women. We're doing a lot to help promote the image of women in the industry. We're getting the word out there that more women need to be speakers, more women need to be nominated for things. A lot of good stuff is happening, and I really recommend that if you are in the industry and you're female, you come and join us because we can use all the support and help and camaraderie we can get. So that is why I wanted to recommend the group. And one of the discussions we were having in the group was about how to drive traffic to a website. And I had said in the comments of this discussion, I think it was Ruth that started it, that I would perhaps do a video about this subject. And then I started thinking about it. I don't have a guest today. Let's go ahead and see if we can put the video out there now. Now, this isn't specifically about driving website traffic, I guess is what I want to say. It's more about figuring out your target market and then extrapolating from there. But there will be a lot of tips that will help those that are trying to increase traffic to their websites and are trying to get the right traffic to their websites, which is actually the more important part of these two things. You don't necessarily want to increase the traffic, you want to increase the right traffic. So you want to get people to your website who are going to want to buy what you have to offer. And those two things are not necessarily the same. And a lot of people think they are, but they're not. It's not about increasing the general amount of traffic. It's about increasing the specific amount of traffic that brings customers. So that's where you are with that. And let's see. Hi, Tanya. Thank you for being here. I do appreciate it very much. So first thing that I want to talk about, and you know me, I have banners because banners are fun, is let's start with a real basic. And I apologize if this is too basic for some of you, but I figure I'll start at the beginning and we'll work our way forward. And the first thing you need to ask is, what is a target market? And I mean, pretty self-explanatory. Your target market is the market that has your customers in it that you want to target to bring to your website, to sell them products, to urge them to like your page, to do whatever it is that you want them to do. Now, a lot of people tell me when I bring up target markets, well, my target market's everybody. Everybody is my target market. I'm sorry to tell you, there is no company in the world, anywhere, even something like Coke or Campbell's Soup or Nike, that the target market is everyone. Now, your target market could be really big, and your target market could have lots of segments. So you have a segment that wants performance wear, and you have a segment that wants baby clothes, and you have a segment that wants embroidered lab coats. So those are three different groups. And within those groups, everyone within that segment might be interested in what you have to sell. But your target market is never everyone. Everyone is a lazy target market. Everyone is the target market you say when you don't want to have to figure out who your market is. And everyone is also the least efficient market that you can approach because it's scattershot. If you assume that your target market is everyone, your marketing pieces that you put out, your stuff you put out on social media is going to have to be so incredibly vague and non-specific that it's not going to inspire anybody to do anything except maybe snore, honestly. So it's not helpful. You need to segment your market. You need to figure out, who do I make things for, and who is my target customer? Who is my target market? And keep in mind, you might have a number of segments for that. Like I said, you could be making, softballs. And so one of your target markets is softball leagues. You could be making rhinestone t-shirts that have a hunting and fishing theme like Sandy Joe does. And then your target market might be women who like to hunt and fish. But you have to segment it, because the more you segment, the more likely you are to hit the right customers, draw them to your website, and the more your messages are going to resonate with these customers. Because don't forget, your goal is to get this market to do something. So the more specific you can get, the more you can motivate people to do what you want them to do, which could be come to your website, which could be like your page, which could be buy something, whatever it is. But finding your target market and narrowing that down is your first priority. It's the first thing you have to do. Everything else builds on that. And if you think your target market is everyone, I got to tell you, you're wrong. You're just wrong. I'm sorry. You just are. So please keep that in mind. You can't have a market of everyone. There's no company in the world, with the possible exception of Amazon, whose market is everyone. And even Amazon, I imagine there are people who are against Amazon and so therefore don't shop with them. So the next question is, all right, so we've established that target markets are necessary and viable and we need them. So how do you determine your target markets? And this is where you have to sit down and give it a little thought. Your knee-jerk reaction might be, well, I have a brick and mortar in this town, so my target market is everyone in this town. Not wrong. Not necessarily right either, but not wrong. One of the ways to really start narrowing down your target market is to look at what you're offering. What products are you offering? And also, what do you like to do? Do you embroider? Do you do rhinestones? Do you do sublimation? Do you like doing promo goods? Would you prefer to do tumblers and keychains and things like that over shirts and baseballs or whatever it is? So you need to really look at a couple of things. The first one is, what can you offer? And that entails looking at what equipment do you have? What skills do you have? What do you know how to do? What do you think are your best things that you can make? All that kind of stuff. The next thing, and it seems weird, and a lot of people will tell you to ignore this, but I don't think you should ever ignore what you like. What do you enjoy making? What is the most fun to make? Because if you're going to do something for umpteen hours a week, and if you own your own business, you know that you could be doing something for, 40, 50, 60, 80 hours a week, some weeks, depending on the amount of orders and the season and all that. So you need to take a look at, what do you enjoy doing? What really gets your motor running? Now, you also have to be realistic and realize that, okay, sometimes you're going to have to do things just to keep the lights on and the doors open. But you want to keep working toward the things that you really like to do, and the things that make you happy, and the things that you look at what you made and you go, damn, that's really cool. I really like that. So that's part of what you have to look at when you're looking at what your target market is too. And the whole kind of concept behind this is that you're going to develop market segments. And market segments are, okay, for this product, this particular market segment would be the people that would want to buy it. And you can go so far. There are some social media and marketing sites out there that develop things called buyer personas. And a buyer persona is basically putting down on paper, okay, this is what I think the typical customer would be in this market segment. She's 35, she owns her own home, she has a compound bow, she likes to skeet shoot, and so therefore she's going to want my Women Hunt Too t-shirts. Sorry, Sandy Joe, taking your example again. And your other segment could be, okay, I sell embroidered softballs, and so my target customer plays softball, and they're between 25 and 45, and they play in a rec league once a week. Or it could be, My target market is high school teams and they want memento balls to give to all their seniors. And so I need to find the person from the team that buys the balls and sell them on this idea and how it'd be a cool gift and a nice memento for the seniors that are graduating this year of their time on the team. So what you need to do is really figure out what the products are that you want to offer, and then narrow your segment. Who's likely to want to buy this product? And then once you've narrowed the segment, okay, this is who I think is going to want this product. Then what's that person like? What's going to appeal to them? You're going to market differently to women who like rhinestone shirts when they hunt. That's going to be a different approach in your graphics and your words and the messages you put out and all that stuff than if you're marketing to men who want hunter orange caps with a patch on them when they hunt. That's going to be a different message. It's not to say there can't be crossover, because there can, but your idea is, or your idea, depending on however you want to say it, the main point you're trying to make is, I'm approaching each segment differently. I'm figuring out who is the ideal customer, let's say, for lack of a better word, for each of the products that I make or for the main product lines that I make. And then I'm going to target my messaging and where those messages go to reach those particular people. It saves you, it sounds like a lot of time, and it is a lot of time on the front end. I'm not going to lie. You're going to spend some time. But once you do it, it saves you a hell of a lot of time and effort and pain on the back end, because you're talking to people who want what you have to sell. And that's huge. And because you've done your homework and you figured out who those people are, and also incidentally where they are, then you're going to save yourself a ton of time, because you're not talking to people who are never going to want what you have to offer, who aren't going to be interested in it. So I'm going to look here at the comments. Cindy says, money gets my motor running. And yes, this is true. And hi, Catherine. Thank you for being here. And yes, money does get a lot of people's motor running. But what I'm telling you here is, if you do this work ahead of time and you figure out your target markets and you market to them appropriately, you're going to make money. And it's probably going to be easier than if you were just scattershot marketing, which is harder than you would think to say, to everyone. So this brings us to your next question. Why the target market matters. A lot of people would say, market to everybody. What does it matter? Throw stuff out there, throw it against the wall, see what sticks. Your target market matters because you only have so much time. And you only have so many hours in a day. You only have so much effort you can put out, particularly if you're a one-person shop or a small shop. If you're trying to do social media and product production and marketing and paperwork and payroll and everything else all yourself, then you don't have time to waste. So this is why the target market is important. This is why figuring this out ahead of time, taking the time to figure out who you want to market to, what you're going to market to them, what would appeal to them as marketing propaganda, for lack of a better word. If you can figure all that ahead of time, if you spend the couple hours it's going to take to do that on the front end of things, then you'll save yourself a lot of, why isn't this working? Social media doesn't work. I can't find my customers. I'm not good at this. Whatever the angst and sadness that comes with marketing in a scattershot manner. And I've heard it all. I've heard social media doesn't work, and I go look at people's profiles and all they've put up is the same picture of the same 3 t-shirts with a price and a buy now link. That's not marketing. That's lazy. I'm sorry, it is. You need to figure out who you want to market to, and you need to craft messages that appeal to that market segment. It's a little harder. It takes a little more time, but the likelihood of success is much higher. And that's ultimately what we want. If you're going to spend the time to do it, spend the time to do it properly. That's the simplest way I can say it. And that's why your target market matters. If you don't know who you're trying to reach, if you don't know who you're trying to sell to, if you've never spent a minute of time trying to figure out what that particular market or those market segments might find appealing, what sort of messages will work with them, all that sort of thing. If you haven't done that, then you're shouting down the void, basically. You're shouting into an abyss and you're hoping that somebody answers back. Don't do that. It's not productive. It's not useful. Spend the time to figure out who your customer is. Your customer is not everyone. I will say that again. You have specific markets. Those are your target markets. Those are the people who are most likely to want what you have to offer. Simple as that. And that's why it matters. And, I understand that it's work, and I understand that people are reluctant to do it. And I understand that some people say, well, only, marketing directors and big companies can do that. No, anybody can do it. It's not hard to do. It just takes a little time and a little thought. But as I said, the payoff for the time and thought is then you're putting strategically placed messages in front of a strategically selected group of people. And those people are statistically, because of the interest that you've determined ahead of time, more likely to want what you have to offer. So you're not throwing darts at a target when you're blindfolded and it's dark. And I understand those two things are redundant, but you get what I mean. So spend the time, take the time. It's not hard to do. Most of you probably already know who your target markets are. You just haven't sat down and thought about it. So do that. It's worth it. The next thing I want to talk about is the other half of this. And I've banged this drum quite a lot in articles and seminars and webinars over the years, and I'm going to bang it again here because this is, I think, another mistake that a lot of people make, and it's why they say social media doesn't work. When you are setting up your business profiles, and they should be, by the way, business profiles, because business profiles will give you analytics, and I will talk about analytics a little later, but you want to make sure that if you have a profile for your business, it is a business profile. And all the major sites have business profiles. And the advantage of business profiles, as I said, is analytics. And analytics are important. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Before we talk about that, I want to talk about strategic following. And this is a term that I made up a while ago. And really what it means is you don't follow willy-nilly. You don't ask your mom and your best friend and your, the three people that you were really good friends with in high school to follow your page, unless they're your customers. If you have, again, done the work to figure out who your market segments are and who your target market is, then you'll know the people that you need to follow and the people that need to follow you. The whole idea is you're trying to connect with potential customers. So if your mom is likely to buy something from you, then yeah, ask her to follow you, follow your page or your profile or whatever it is. If she's not, then don't. Because one of the biggest lies that a lot of social media experts and even the social media sites themselves will tell you is that it's about the numbers. If you have a lot of people following you, then you're going to do well. And I'm sorry, that's complete bullshit. It's not about the numbers. It's about having the right people following you. 10 people who are in your target market who want to buy what you have to sell are worth more than 10,000 random people who don't give a shit about your company or what you sell. And it sounds counterintuitive, and it certainly is counterintuitive if you listen to some of the social media sites or some of the so-called social media experts. It's not. It isn't about more. It's about specific. It's about better. So you want to make sure that the connections that you're making are connections with people who are going to be a benefit to you. And the other kind of comment or complaint that I get when I say this is, well, that sounds kind of cold. That sounds kind of mercenary or business-like. And I just look at them and say, it is. This is business. This is, you can follow whoever you want for your personal pages. You can, follow 10,000 people who aren't probably ever going to pay attention to you. That's fine. Waste your time that way if you want to. And I'm sorry to sound harsh about it, but that's really what it is. But when you're following for business, you're following for a specific purpose. And this purpose is to connect with the people who are going to want to buy what you have to sell. And when you're doing that, you have to say no thank you to the random person who wants to friend you, or you have to not follow people's pages when they randomly ask you to follow a page that has no interest to you and you're never going to get anywhere with it. The goal is to create a group of followers, people you follow and people who follow you, who can advance your business. They can either help publicize it, they can be a supplier, they can provide you with publicity of some kind, or they're customers. That's who you want to be following. I also would say strategic following encompasses or involves following your competitors. And a lot of people are reluctant to do that because the theory is if I follow my competitors, then they'll follow me back and they'll see what I'm doing. So, does it matter? You're following them to see, number one, who else is following them that you can connect with because they're your potential customers. Following your competitors is also a great source of seeing if they're having problems. Have they pissed anybody off? Have they had supply shortages? Is their customer service really crap? Are there niches that you can sneak into and maybe pull away some of their customer base? So follow, and also just what are they doing? What are they doing better than you? What are they offering that you're not? What do their customers respond to the best? Are they offering sales? Do they offer products you don't? Do you have skills that they don't? All that intelligence, if you want to talk about in spy language, all that intelligence is there. You just have to go find it. There is a thing called social research, and social research is basically using social media to gather data. Gathering data is useful, and it's not spying, and it's not being sneaky, and you can damn well bet your competitors are doing it to you, so do it back, man. Get the data. Figure out what's happening, because the more data you have, the more people you can connect with, and the more you can see what's happening in your market, the better off you are. So we've got a couple. Let's see. And Tanya, you're not wrong. Collaboration over competition, if you can make that happen, and I'm all for collaboration, but I don't think competition is a bad thing. And also, yes, inspiration. You're right there. I don't think competition is necessarily a bad thing. I think you can be friendly and respectful of your competitors, and I think that's important. That you need to not be adversarial, because adversarial doesn't help anyone. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with following your competitors. There's nothing wrong with learning from your competitors. And there's nothing wrong with working with your competitors if that becomes an opportunity that you can seize. I know that Tanya, who just did the last two comments, she worked with a competitor of theirs in their town during the pandemic, which I think was wonderful. And I think they did, I can't remember the name of the initiative now, but they did something like a Here for Good campaign. It was something strong. I want to say Mankato Strong, but I think I'm wrong about that. I don't know. Anyway, lovely program, and it was successful, and they worked with a competitor. So there are ways that you can team up with competitors. There are ways that you can learn from competitors. But the main thing is use social media for business purposes, which means you're not following randomly, you're not following indiscriminately, you're trying to gather data, you're trying to make connections with people who will buy what you have to sell. That's your goal. It's not to be, and I'm betting, there it is. Martin County Strong was what it was called. Thank you. Don't know why I was saying Mankato. But that was the initiative they did with their competitor, which worked out very well from what I remember. So the other thing you want to remember about social media, and this is another drum that I banged forever and ever, and those of you that have watched me talk about social media before are probably tired of hearing this, but I'm going to say it again because it's important. Social media is about connections, not selling. A lot of people who use social media sell all the time. That's all they do. They put things up and they put up pictures of their product and they put up a price and they put up a link, and then they wonder why nobody's buying. Think how many selling messages you get every day. Think how often you encounter an ad or someone who wants you to buy something, and how tired you get of that and how bored you get with that. And then multiply that by every time you look at your social media feed, there's 50 selling messages. After a while, you just tune it out. After a while, it doesn't work anymore. And half the stuff you don't really want anyway. So you're seeing all these messages about give me money, give me money, give me money, and it's stuff you don't want, and the messages aren't that well done. So look at social media a different way. And again, this is something I've said a lot of times, going to say it again here. Social media is about building trust. And there have been numerous studies done that show that customers are more likely to buy from companies and producers and suppliers that they trust. So what you want to do is create an atmosphere of trust with your social media profiles, your pages, your profiles, your groups, whatever you're doing. You're trying to build community. You're trying to form connections. That's what you should be trying to do, not putting out innumerable messages about buy my crap, buy my crap, buy my crap, which I know you're not saying buy my crap, but that's honestly what they feel like after a while. And if you find that social media isn't working for you, go back and look at the messages you've been putting out there. Because my guess is 9 times out of 10, those messages are buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. And you're not putting any thought into it, and you're not making them interesting, and you're not trying to form any connections. You're basically standing up on a tabletop somewhere with a bullhorn screaming, give me money, at the top of your lungs over and over and over. And then you're wondering why everybody's going, nope, don't want to do that, thanks. Crazy, I know. But people don't like to be sold. People like to be connected with. They like to feel like they know the person that they're giving their money to, and that they can trust that person. And they know if there's an issue or a problem, that person's going to take care of them. And the only way that you can give them that feeling is by spending the time to make a connection. And you can make a connection on a page just by responding to people's comments. You can build a group and have your customers in a group where you answer questions or teach them things, or share with them the latest stuff you've learned, or that you're going to a trade show or whatever it is. You're letting people get to know you. You're letting people understand who you are, what your business is about, what you're about, what you're trying to do, and why when they buy a shirt from you, or a softball, or a tumbler, or a design, or a hat, or whatever it is, that they're giving their money to someone who is worthy of having that money. That they're a good producer. They work hard at what they do. They're going to take care of the customer. If there's a problem, if there's something wrong, they're going to be responsive. They're going to care. They're not going to take the money and disappear into thin air. And all of that helps you create loyal customers. And loyal customers are the ones that are basically gold. They're your bread and butter. They're the people who keep coming back to buy again. They're the people you can, in as much as you can ever count on any customer segment, the people you can count on. And your job is to cultivate those loyal customers, to feed them messages that help them decide to buy from you, to educate them, to entertain them, to make sure that they trust you, to treat them well. And social media is one of the ways that you can do that. So you need to concentrate on the connection. You need to concentrate on, I'm not looking at you and seeing dollar signs. I'm looking at you and seeing a person who may perhaps want to buy my products. That's how I think of you. I think of you first as a person and then as a customer. And it's a mind shift. It's a mindset shift, because a lot of times when people are on social media, what they're thinking is social media is a tool that's going to make me money. It's going to get me stuff. It's going to get me customers who are going to give me money, which are going to make my business successful. And let's face it, we all want successful businesses. That's the goal. None of us are running a business so that we can fail miserably and live in a box down by the river, or a van down by the river if you're an aficionado of old Saturday Night Live. But you have to put the work in. If there's one message that I can get through to you through all of this, you have to put the work in. And yes, it is work. It's work to figure out who your market is. It's work to form the connections. It's work to nurture the connections. And it's going to take time and it's going to take effort. But the good news is, if you do the work, the payoff could potentially be much better than just being scattershot and paying no attention to nurturing connections or offering marketing messages that are going to resonate with your target customers. So you need to spend the time. And I'm sorry to keep belaboring that, but I know for a lot of business owners, particularly small business owners, marketing is on the bottom of the list. Marketing is the thing I'll get to after I've done everything else I have to do. And it should be a higher priority. And I'm not just saying that because that's what I did for a living for 14 years. I'm just saying it needs to be a higher priority because it's important. And if you can get the marketing right, a lot of the other stuff you're worrying about, like income and buying new equipment or paying your employees or whatever it is, will get easier because you'll be bringing more income in. So you made your connections on social media. Now we're going to talk a little bit about analytics. For those of you who aren't familiar with analytics, analytics are basically the stats from your website, from your profiles on social media, from your pages on social media, from any ads that you do. And basically what analytics are they're telling you how successful you're being at whatever it is that you're trying to do. If you're looking at analytics from a website, you're looking at stuff like how many people are bouncing off the site. And bouncing is coming to the site, realizing there's nothing there of interest or nothing there that you want, and just pinging right off in seconds. Or how sticky is your website? So this is all stuff that we're going to talk about in the next little segment. But, oops, I lost my banner. So what you want to do is look at analytics as data. And as I said before, data is huge. The more data you have, the more you can figure out what's working and what's not, what market segments are being served and what segments aren't. So you can use Google Analytics. Most, if not all, of the social media platforms have analytics. Your website software, whatever software you use, may come with analytics. And you need to just immerse yourself in all that data. Look at it at least once a week, if not more. I would say look at it almost every day if you can. It doesn't take that long to do. It's just kind of, think of it the same way as going for a checkup. You want to find out you want to make sure that all your systems are working properly. So going for a physical, maybe. You want to make sure all your systems are working properly. You want to make sure there's not any problems. You want to figure out as soon as you can if there are things you need to change, so maybe things would work better. That's basically what analytics are. Analytics are the same thing as taking your temperature and hitting your knee with that little rubber mallet to see if your reflexes are good, basically. Except analytics apply to social media and websites and internet activities, basically. So I really, really recommend, if you don't have a Google Analytics account, you get one and you hook your website up to it, that you make sure you're paying attention to the analytics on your website and on your social media platforms. And you're really paying attention. So like on your social media platforms, if you have a page, it'll show you what posts have been the most successful, what times of day the most people have reacted, what sort of engagements you're getting, all that kind of stuff. And what that tells you is, okay, this post I did on Tuesday at 2 p.m. got a lot of reaction. This post I did on Thursday at 10 a.m. got no reaction. So if I have something important, when am I going to post it? Tuesday at 2 p.m. If I have a new product to unveil, if I have a sale. You can also look at the type of post you're posting. Are your sale posts getting less reaction than your, hey, this is a cool thing we did today posts? Or do people like hearing about your equipment? Or do they like seeing pictures of your dog or whatever it is? Analytics will tell you all that. It'll tell you, excuse me, my nose is itching here, what people are reacting to and what they're not. So spend some time with analytics. Invest in a Google Analytics account. It will be worth your while. Trust me. Now, let's talk a little bit about websites. One of the reasons why Google Analytics is really helpful is if your website software does not have an analytics program, then you can use Google Analytics to see what is happening with your website, how it's working, and the sort of things that you want to look at when you're looking at website health are things like, as I was saying earlier, are people bouncing? Are people hitting your homepage or any of the pages on your site and pinging right back off? What that tells you is that Google is, for whatever the reason, driving traffic to your site that is one of two. Well, it tells you one of two things, honestly. The first one is that for whatever the reason, Google is driving traffic to your site that isn't traffic that needs to be there. The other option could be people are getting to your site and it's so horrible that they bounce right off. Now, both of those are correctable, which is the good news. If Google is driving traffic to your site and it's not the right traffic, you need to check on things like, what are your keywords? What's the copy on your site? How is your site structured? All that kind of stuff. Where is it ranking and under what keywords? That'll help you a lot when you're trying to figure that one out. If your site is crap, you can figure that out too. There are sites that aren't necessarily well done, or sites that are so complicated that people get on them and go, there's 5 million steps before I can find anything. So what makes a site not crap? It has good navigation. It has good pictures. It has good copy. And I'm going to flip over here because I'm going to do a little promo for a friend of mine. If you are looking for good copy for your website, Strand Writing Services, Nicole Rollander. She is immensely talented, a wonderful writer, and she understands how to make website copy work. So, Strand Writing Services, just going to put that up there. But if you're wondering, what difference does copy make? Copy makes a huge difference. Copy is where your keywords are, so that's important. And it's also the difference between somebody being intrigued by your product and being bored by your product or turned off by your product. And it's as basic as making sure everything's spelled properly and capitalized properly, to making sure that it's interesting and that it fits with the mood of your site and your products. So you want to craft everything about your site carefully, because you're projecting an image. And if you project the right image and your keywords are right and your copy is right and your pictures are good, then you get websites that are called sticky. And it means exactly what the word means. Somebody hits your site and they find what they want, or they're so enthralled with what's there that they go through page after page after page after page to find whatever it is they're looking for. Your goal is to have a sticky site. You don't want people bouncing. And the way that you get a sticky site is, first, you make sure that the people who are coming to your site are the right people. So they're your target market who want whatever you have to sell. And then once they're there, you create such a great experience for them that they don't want to leave. It's as simple as that. It really is. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. My voice is really going. I apologize. Excuse me for just a second. Don't know why it decides to do that. So you want to look at things like keywords, like I said. You want to look at your pictures and make sure that you have the best possible pictures you can get. You want to make sure that your navigation is easy to find and easy to follow and not real complicated. You want to make sure that there are multiple ways for people to find things. Do you have a search? Are there multiple ways in your menu that people can find the items that they want? You can also do things like have a specialty section or a featured section where you put the products you think are really your best, all that kind of stuff. But really what you're looking at is you want a site that's going to attract people and get them to buy. So you need to do stuff like run through your checkout process and make sure that it's smooth and there aren't a lot of glitches and it isn't 5 pages of innumerable things that people have to do. That the barriers between them and them giving you their money are really small and it's easy. And if you see a lot of people that are loading stuff in their carts and then dropping during the checkout process, that's a sign that maybe your checkout process isn't that great and it could be better. So you need to look at all this stuff. And this is what analytics will tell you. It'll tell you where people are coming from. It'll tell you the keywords they're using to get to your site. It'll tell you where they landed on your site. And it'll show you which pages maybe people are bouncing from faster and which are holding a little longer. There's all sorts of things. And if you see a lot of abandoned carts, then that means that maybe your checkout process is too complicated or it's too slow or whatever it is. So all this stuff analytics will tell you, and then you can go look at the site, you can test things out and find out what works and what doesn't and fix the stuff that doesn't work so that your website does what it's supposed to, which is bring in money. That's the long and the short of it. So analytics is basically vital signs for your website in its simplest terms. And a lot of people ignore analytics and they put their website up and then they wonder why it doesn't work. That's because you're not paying attention. Having a website, it used to be back in the old days when the internet was new that just having a website was pretty much enough. It's not anymore. There's a gazillion websites. There's a gazillion people who build websites. There's a gazillion different types of websites. So you need to have a website that actually works. And people are much more sophisticated about using websites now and the consumer experience. So you want to make sure that your consumer experience is a good one, that your website is promoting your products and connecting with your customers in the best way possible, that they can shop with you easily, that they can find what they want easily, that they can get their questions answered easily. And all those things you need to test, you need to look at, you need to be sure that it's all working like a well-oiled machine. And analytics is part of what will give you the answers to those questions. And I'll have to admit, analytics, I don't love them all the time because sometimes they show me stuff I don't want to know. You know, they show me that something isn't working, or they show me that the thing that I thought was really cool and amazing is turning customers off. And you don't want to know that. But it's better to know that and fix it than to go on thinking that you created the coolest website in the world and actually your customers are looking at it and going, my God, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. Why did they do that? I don't know why. And keep in mind, ultimately, your website is there to encourage your customers to purchase from you. That's its main goal. So it doesn't matter how pretty it is. I mean, it's nice. It should look nice. It should look professional, but it doesn't matter how pretty it is. It doesn't matter that you have some cool navigation that pops out of the left side when they touch the right corner or whatever it is. You can have the coolest navigation in the world. If the customers can't find it, it's no good. You can have the coolest website in the world, but if the customers can't get to the products they want to buy, it's no good. You can have the coolest website in the world, but if the customers that are coming to it are not the customers who want to buy what you have to sell, it's no good. So it's all kind of this chicken and egg round robin sort of thing of you have to get one part right to get the other part right. You have to have a good website to get the customers that want your products to be able to buy your products. But you have to get the customers who want to buy your products to the website so they can buy the products. So chicken and the egg, which one? And are there people who sell with crap websites? Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm not going to say every website is the most amazing thing in the entire world, but to the best of your ability, create a website that's as good as you can make it. And I say this fully aware that my current website is not as good as I can make it. And I'm working on that, which will probably entail hiring someone. But that's another. And honestly, I'm not trying to make my website do anything right now, and I'm not selling anything on it. So it's just kind of there. But if I were going to be selling on it, which I'm thinking about doing, then yeah, I'm going to be upgrading it because it needs upgrading. And this is going to be a little short one today because honestly, my voice is starting to go and it's driving me nuts. So the last thing I want to talk about is be intentional and consistent in social media, in what you do with your website, in how you connect with your customers. Know what you want to achieve. What are your goals? And don't say my goal is I want to make money. Everybody wants that. It's a valid goal, yes. But how much money? From whom? How many new customers do you want to see this month? How many new sales do you want to make? How are you going to make that happen? And be consistent. And by consistent, I mean, I've seen a ton of people who put up a website and then totally ignore it, or create a social media page or a profile and then post 3 times in 6 months and then say social media doesn't work. You have to be consistent. If you're going to do a video series like this one, you have to show up every week or every other week or every month or however often you decide to do it. Excuse me. If you're going to have social media profiles, you have to post regularly and you have to respond to customers, and it's going to take time and it's going to take effort. That's just how it is. You just have to accept it. You have to allow it to be what it is. You have to know that you're going to have to put some time into it. And the good news is, hopefully, as time goes on, you're going to establish yourself and establish your community. And perhaps it takes a little less time. And your website is going to be improved enough that it will do some of the work for you. So there are benefits to all this stuff. If you spend the time up front, hopefully that means you have to spend less time later. But you need to be intentional, which means you need to know what it is you want to have happen. And you need to be consistent. You need to keep working at it. And I know in the early days when you just start a profile or you just put up a page and there's nobody there and there's nobody responding to you, it feels like you're shouting into the abyss and nobody cares. You have to give it time. You have to show up every day, even when nobody's showing up with you. Because eventually, if you keep showing up, people do notice. They start to trust that you're going to have information and you're going to put effort in. And then they start showing up. And then before you know it, you've built a loyal group of customers and you don't have to work so hard at things. And if you're really, really lucky, your customers also become brand advocates and they start spreading the word for you. And I got to tell you, That's an amazing thing. When you see people mentioning your company or your products before you can, amazing feeling, gotta say. But that is all I have for today, so I'm going to end a little early. I know that this was a pretty basic overview. If people are interested, I can go into more detail or break the segments down and go into more detail about a particular segment. As of right now, I don't have a guest for next week. So if you are a member of, I'm going to go back up here again, Women in Garment Decoration, and you'd like to message me or put a post in the group about a topic that you'd like me to cover, I have absolutely no issue with that. You can also go to the Women and Business Facebook page and leave me a message there and let me know if you have a topic that you are interested in seeing me cover. And I would be happy to do that. Thank you, everybody who was here today. I appreciate you watching. I hope you got something out of this that helped you. If you have any other questions, y'all know where I am. So feel free to ask and I'll be happy to respond. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for being here today. See you next week.